Jesus that aren't consecutive. You know, they're not directly tied to each other. 2 parables of Jesus, and explain them to us.
You have the parable of the 10 virgins in Matthew 25, that some of the virgins prepared their candles and they weren't prepared, the others weren't prepared for his coming, and some were put out. And then you have the parable of the mustard seed, referring to the kingdom, and that kingdom will grow.
Where would you turn in Scripture to find teaching about spiritual gifts?
1 Corinthians 12 to 14. You have Ephesians. You also have Romans 12.
So this is not a sacraments question, it's a Bible question. Where in Scripture would you turn to find teaching about infant baptism?
I would specifically go to the Abrahamic covenant in 12, 15, and 17, and then I would tie it to Galatians and the continuation of the Abrahamic covenant.
Let me open it to the floor for questions in practical knowledge of Bible content.
Could you, great job, man. That was great. Could you tell me the significance of Nehemiah in the Old Testament and any major contemporary characters or prophets with Nehemiah?
So prophet, I would go Ezra. You have the return from exile and the rebuilding of the wall with Nehemiah, and then you have Haggai with the rebuilding of the temple to worship the Lord.
So what part of Scripture right now are you the most uncomfortable with?
If I had to pick, and I don't want to say I'm comfortable, it's just hard to read, I would say the end of Judges with the heinous sin of Israel and the rape of the woman. That is a difficult part of Judges, but going through Ruth, it's central to Ruth. It just shows the sinfulness of Israel and how desperate they were needing of a king who was righteous.
Can I ask you about his eschatology?
Yeah, this is. You can ask a Bible question regarding his eschatology.
Could you explain your eschatology and point to where you get your understanding from the scriptures?
You can define me one of 2 ways. You could say post-mill, or you could say optimistic. I don't know, depending on how you define those terms. I believe Christ is reigning now, and then after that, we will be with him in heaven. Until then, I am optimistic that the kingdom will grow and be fruitful throughout all the earth. I don't believe that we will just evangelize the nations, but we will be successful, and that comes from Matthew 24. So I do believe the day of destruction was 70 AD with the temple, and that the kingdom will grow and prosper with it.
Sam.
What scripture would you go to then for to console those parts of the church that do not seem fruitful, such as Augustine's North Africa?
Could you repeat the question?
What part of Scripture would you go to console the parts of the church
That do not see that fruitfulness.
that do not see that fruitfulness, such as Augustine's North